Welcome back to the Cover 3 podcast here on CBS Sports. I'm Chip Patterson, and we're going to do something a little bit different for you today. This is the first ever Cover 3 year in review coming right to your Christmas stocking. In a year that was one of the wildest in college football memory, there was so much to discuss on each and every episode. So sit back, grab some eggnog, whatever you're inclined, if you are so inclined, as I present to you some of the very best moments of the Cover 3 podcast in 2023. Got any play for Notre Dame Navy?
Yeah, and
yes, perfect.
Man, if you could get some brownie points, right, with the wife, be like telling her, hey, babe, I know college football starts today, but I love you so much. Let's go do some farmer's market. Or you could get with me on this sicko mode play. Chip, music.
All right.
Go. Just right on the
sicko mode. Let's go. I'm a little bit lower on some of the teams in the bottom of the Sun Belt. If things go wrong, they could be like UMass, UConn. That's kind of like sicko mode of a sicko mode.
All right. So I read Irish Illustrated every day. That is our 24/7 sports board. They do a tremendous job. They have been telling me, I read all the reports, I listen to all the pods, that the interior defensive line for Notre Dame is much better. We got the new clock rules in place. We'll see how much that affects games. I know my friend Bill Connolly thinks it's about 5% reduction in scoring since the clock will run after first downs. Obviously not if it goes out of bounds, not within the last 2 minutes of the half. But I'm going to go with some mean median deviation here. First, yeah. So where like the median outcome is actually different than the mean outcome here. Let's start off just completely sick. Under 0.5 points for Navy in the first quarter in Ireland. I'm betting on Notre Dame's defense to shut out Navy in the first quarter. Let's freaking go. I was going to save it, but like we already
No, just unload it. Just unload it early.
Oh,
that is perfect.
We are off and running. We're back, baby.
And welcome back to the Cover 3 podcast here on Sicko Saturday night. That's right. Chip Patterson took the weekend off. He's not here. It's just me, Tom Fornelli, and Bud Elliott, and we are running the ship tonight. And trust me, you heard the ad read we did before the show began. This one can go anywhere.
Michigan State first half team total under 5.5.
It's time for sicko mode.
That was disgusting.
Michigan State was like, look, they fought hard, but they luck boxed their way through that game against Indiana last week. And they have a lot of injuries, especially on the offensive line. I mean, I don't even know if Drew Aller's going to play, and I still think Penn State's going to cover the whole number just because I think a shutout is legitimately in play here for this Penn State defense against Michigan State. They said they traveled 45 scholarship players to Indiana. So,
man, I want to take Sparty so bad. Prime time. I think they fight. I think Penn State's overrated.
If you lose, what time is this game? 7:30?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if we lose this, you're going to get credit for, like, not watching the game and going spending more time with your family. Like, wow, look at that. So, it's kind of a win-win.
Oh, this is
great.
Yeah, Danny says Bud's going to be in the local mall department store on Black Friday asking the TV department to put on the Sparty game.
Oh, man.
Everybody's running to grab these big screens, and he's like, hold on, leave that plugged in. And it's like, let's go. And I'm back there.
Hold on, Michigan State's in field goal range, and there's only a minute and a half left in the half.
Tell me you guys have not done that before.
What, ask them to change a game in a store?
Putting a bet in a department store, like a big box store, like what you shop with your wife, and be like, "Hey, hold on, I got to bet this second half." I'll meet you over in toys or whatever appliances.
Look, there is a good chance that Bud might be at a department store right now with the sicko mode play on a bowl game. I don't know. Maybe he's got hit the second quarter under for someone. But right now, we'll move on. Because every season in college football brings newfound rivalries, and this season was no different. Only this time around, it involved none other than the man of the year in college football, Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, and our own Danny Kanell. Danny, do we need to address it? I think we've got the graphic here.
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah, because we talked about this the other day on the pod that Deion's comments about Florida State not even acknowledging, wouldn't even say the word "null" out of his mouth, and he was just deflecting and would not acknowledge it. Did say, I'm not a null because I got my degree from HBCU, and we were perplexed by it, and I tweeted about it. And and then this morning got a little reply from Coach Prime that I'm trying to decipher. I'm still trying to make sense of what exactly he's talking about. He's not lacking confidence. We knew that. I didn't expect anything else, and I wouldn't argue with him on that one. And I don't think I said anything about his play on the field. It was about the way he, took this stance. Stay out of grown folks' business. You have no idea what is what. The truth hurts, my man. I got time. Can you guys help me with that? What is the grown folks' business that I have no idea about?
I think he's calling the Cover 3 podcast child's play. I think he's trying to make himself an enemy of the podcast right now by saying that what we do is just kiddie pool stuff. That he's in the deep end over there at Colorado at the Power Conference level.
I think he is in the deep end. I think he's pretty salty he didn't get the Florida State job.
So then say it. Then that's my point. It's you are not one to mince words. Why take this cute road? Oh, I'm not going to mention it. Just say it then. Say you're mad. Say you're pissed off that you didn't get the job. I'm okay with that.
Danny,
that seems to me what he's about.
It's because we got to do a little bit of this, right? We got to turn the page on this calendar, right? And we're going to go from talking season to game playing season, right?
Yep.
And the game's got to be played. So, it's time. I should probably show the camera here. Dude, I think that's why.
Yeah.
Danny, what's the current level of feud? Are we at a 7 or 8 with you and the Sanders family?
Yeah, I think so. It's been an interesting 24 hours, I would say, on social media. And I get it. I definitely poked the bear. I put it out there. That was a shocking one to see that one, especially after now, do you guys think that poll is leading or implying that I think they shouldn't? Do you guys think does that poll, because that's all I did was put out the poll, should you storm the field? And it was already a debate that was starting to rage. I saw some Jack McGuire with Barstool with those guys. He said, I can't believe you did it. I saw Big Cat say, oh, absolutely. So I saw the debate kind of going. I was genuinely curious, all right, what do people think? Is this obvious? I didn't have a huge problem with it. I'm I get it. You guys have not been relevant for 15, 20 years. It's the emotion. I thought the outcome of the game, overtime, absolutely played into it. If they beat them by 3 touchdowns, they don't rush the field. All right, here we go. All right. The bell has rung. The market's open. Are we ready to do this?
Yes.
All right, let's do it. Let's start off. A little now. You guys have all watched CNBC and they show the big board, right? They show the big board and they flash red or green. A little bit of red out in those streets. There's a little bit of bloody water out there. When you look at some of the guys I was holding, wasn't a great week. Drake May, costly interception at the end of the game. Michael Penix, now no longer the favorite for the Heisman Trophy. He's dropped to plus 250 out there on the Heisman odds. Quinn Ewers. So that was going to be my first sell was Quinn Ewers, but the stock is halted due to the unknown nature of the injury. So I can't make a trade. I'm kind of stuck with them. So that's what I'm going to do there. I'm stuck with my Quinn Ewers stock. So I'll just hold on to that one. Dylan Gabriel's kind of a soft, it's kind of like a hold. I'm just going to hold it. I'm not going to sell it. I'm not going to panic there. And then Jaden Daniels, I might even dabble and buy some more after a strong performance. 4 total touchdowns versus Army. They got the bye. Then they got Bama. Let's go. I'll add a little bit of Jaden Daniels to that stock.
Day trading Danny, one of my favorite pieces of the season. Cover 3 podcast, we're always trying to reinvent, and a stock watch was something that we just put on DK's plate. He ran with it. He delivered like that. Shout out to you, DK. Merry Christmas. All right. Flashing back to the beginning of the season, one of the biggest stories around the Iowa football program was whether or not Brian Ferentz was going to be able to meet his contractually obligated 25 points per game. And while scoring a touchdowns was certainly a struggle, what wasn't a struggle was Bud being able to reallocate all of those points, as we did the Brian Ferentz tracker all the way until the point where he was announced as no longer retained after the year. Bud, what we got?
So, unfortunately, and I'm still keeping the faith on this, but Iowa needed to score 30 on Minnesota, and it only scored 10. Probably should have scored 17 if they don't call that illegal fair catch signal there. So I have to redistribute the points just like the government, and I got 20 to redistribute this week amongst the 5 assumed remaining games. So we're going to need 35 this weekend at Northwestern. Could be an issue, but I think that is theoretically possible, right? Iowa's defense could create enough negative situations against this Northwestern offense, which is truly horrid, to maybe put them in some good situations. 34 at home against Rutgers. Rutgers already bowl eligible. Congrats to Rutgers. Again, maybe Rutgers overlooks Iowa, right? Because they're already bowl eligible, but they're not really eligible to win anything else. Maybe they could get some short fields there. Illinois, 34 at home in Kinnick. It's unlikely, but guys, Illinois could self-destruct here. We have seen them do so and give them a bunch of short fields. Nebraska is down to 3 true freshman receivers and a walk-on at receiver. So if Iowa somehow got up and Nebraska had to pass a lot, maybe you get 3 or 4 short field touchdowns. And in the bowl game, we're going to need either Iowa, Colorado, Iowa, USC with a bunch of opt-outs, Iowa, Utah State. I'm trying to think really bad defenses which could be bowl eligible.
The numbers Iowa, that you have on the screen right now, 35, 34, 34, 31, 35, is you are full Kyrie right now. This is a flat Earth proposition.
It's possible. If we start getting up in the 50s or 60s, I may really. I'm still going to do the bit because the chat loves the bit. It's great for social, but oh my god!
Go ahead.
No, in a cruel twist of fate, if you follow Parker's chart on Twitter, did we really get beat this bad? Iowa actually had a higher success rate than Minnesota did and lost.
How the turntables.
How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good time that made us laugh, I'll wave them back, and I'll take so hard to say goodbye to yesterday.
Brian Ferentz, do you expect, how about this? Danny, do you expect Iowa to have a dynamic downfield passing attack? Is Graham Harrell going to get hired away from Purdue? What does Iowa do to replace Brian Ferentz?
So I think what's interesting, Chris Hassel, our resident Iowa expert at CBS Sports HQ. I was talking to him. We had him on the radio show. He is a diehard, right? Doesn't it feel like it's a better time to possibly just make a clean break from everything? Go in a totally new direction? Because what I think he was frustrated at is that if Kirk Ferentz is there, you're not going to go out and hire Graham Harrell. You're not going to go hire a Phil Longo like Wisconsin did. You're not going to go get a Garrett Riley. You're going to go get somebody that you like, that you're familiar with, that's going to implement what you want to do, which is run the ball and play good defense and don't turn it over.
Oh, how do we say goodbye? We got to say goodbye to Brian Ferentz as Iowa's offensive coordinator and everything we came to know and love that came with the Brian Ferentz experience. We say goodbye to the Brian Ferentz points tracker. Well, we must be strong. We must move on. Okay. Well, in the 2023 season, it was not one without controversy, and emotions, they ran pretty high, especially in Ann Arbor.
So Kevin Smith in the chat says maybe the assistant or coordinator needs to sit a game or two. Bruh, that's such a slap on the wrist. It's insulting. That's what I think they're going to get. A slap on the wrist. I think it's sort of a tacit acknowledgement that other teams are doing this. Michigan, you were just so dumb in how you did it. You used your own freaking name to buy tickets on both sides of the stadium.
This is the
And you got
underdiscussed
paid
part of the
back on
story.
Venmo. Guys, it's
The public Venmo
it's burner
transaction.
phone, right? It's
Bud's got a burner just sitting there for no reason.
well, I shot a video earlier, so it's prepaid debit cards. Okay, what are you doing with this Venmo? Just
The biggest takeaway from this story that nobody has discussed is the fact that it is clear the academic standards to be an assistant on Michigan staff are much lower than it is to be a player on the team.
it's so dumb. Like the way that he executed this is so dumb that it really helps Harbaugh's plausible deniability claim.
Do we want to hear from Sherrod Moore? We ready for this?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
On the road, in this environment, when there were doubts. Sherrod, what does it mean to you?
I want to thank the Lord. I want to thank Coach Harbaugh. Love you, man. Love the out of you, man. This is for you. For this university, the president, our AD. We got the best players, best university, best alumni in the country. Love you guys. These guys right here. These guys right here, man. These guys did it. These guys did it, man. Talk to him, man. Love you.
So the Sherrod Moore power rankings to review. Number 1, the Lord. Number 2, Jim Harbaugh. Number 3, this university. Number 4, the university president. Number 5, the athletic director. And then 6, these blanking kids. Those are your Sherrod Moore official power rankings in the wake of the Penn State win.
I mean, you got a problem with him? I thought it was a good order. I don't know. Like I maybe I would put Harbaugh up above God, but you know, some people have different tastes.
Like Stoops teams play hard. He's raised the ceiling there. And yeah, could they use more NIL money? Sure, but they have some NIL money. Like I know about some battles they've won for players. Like they're kind of the number 1 guy on Kentucky's board. They're more like the 7th or 8th guy on the other team's board, and they outspend him for it, and they get him. But they don't need more NIL money. They need a time machine and a moving truck. Okay? You need about 100 more years of fan passion, investment, history, tradition, and you need to move your location to a place that produces more good high school football players. Georgia, Florida, Baton Rouge, Birmingham. Like I worry that Kentucky is kind of getting Glenn Mason here with Mark Stoops. Like Mark Stoops has you at your absolute ceiling. I have no hopes for Kentucky ever being better than this. I will die before Kentucky wins the SEC. Okay? And like with the next guy you hire will be worse than Mark Stoops, almost guaranteed. This is probably the best run Kentucky will ever have post World War II on the football field. This 10-year period, like this is nuts that he gets any kind of heat there.
And now it is time to turn it over to Tom Fornelli for the Fornellis.
All right, so we've got some big game breakdowns to get to, so I'm going to get through these as quickly as possible. We're going to start with the Whoopsie Daisy King of the Month award. Goes to none other than our beloved Anthony Calandria, who was just an electric factory all month long. Whether he was actually making plays, trying to make plays, or making terrible plays, it was never boring watching that kid play. Please put him back in as the starter. Virginia, give us something. Give us a reason to watch you. Nobody wants to watch Tony Muskett throw for 6 yards an attempt as you lose 17-14. The next one is the Thirsty Coach of the Month. Mel Tucker wins the Thirsty Coach of the Month award for, I think we all know why. And that leads to our next award, which is the BS Message Board Rumor of the Month, Urban Meyer to Michigan State. Yes, that's right, folks. The school with the Larry Nassar scandal and who just had to fire its coach for, once again, being Mel Tucker, is going to hire Urban two knuckles deep Meyer to replace him and run that athletic department. Really good. That's a great rumor. Keep floating it. Get the people listening to your radio shows and reading your columns. The crispiest secondary of the month award goes to LSU. You know, we have spent a lot of time on this show talking about how the SEC doesn't have any good quarterbacks. LSU is doing its damnedest to make the SEC quarterbacks look better by letting everybody throw for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns against it. We appreciate your contributions, Tigers.
The chat wants Mario talk.
Dude. Dumb. Dumb, 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 dumb. I mean, first of all, let's start by saying Miami should have never been in that position to begin with. The fact that they were playing down like that to Georgia Tech all night, where the game was 3-0 Miami at halftime. Tyler Van Dyke throwing 3 interceptions. Like, this is a game you should have blown away. But then you survive. Like, that's the game. Like, you play like crap. You don't even really play like crap. Like, you outplayed Georgia Tech in most aspects, but you beat yourself a lot. And you survive. You're at the end of the game. And I was talking to Jordan before the show. I said, you know what? Miami, this is going to look like a terrible win for Miami. But compared to what we've seen around the rest of the country tonight, just getting away and surviving is probably pretty good compared to what happened to other teams. And then they started handing off when all they had to do was kneel. And they're in the shotgun doing like RPO. What the? Just dumb, incredibly stupid, bad, terrible coaching. And you lost because of it. F around, find out. That's what happened.
So people in the chat are saying that Cristobal did this 2018 against Oregon. If he actually did this and
Against
lost
Stanford.
the game.
It was the Oregon-Stanford
Oregon
2018
Stanford
game. Yeah. All right, we're not going to wait.
He's done this before? No, like
right,
that's
listen, this is the instant reaction show. If you're new to this, like this is instant.
This is raw and uncut. Yeah.
Well, listen, Georgia Tech is good at math.
Yes, he did actually.
So they already knew in terms of tendencies on the algorithm that, Mario would do this. Good
Georgia Tech offered Mario, but they couldn't get him past the
Yeah.
Oh, just
all right. So, okay. It's Oregon 31, Stanford 28, 3 minutes, 10 seconds left. Stanford has 2 timeouts left. Oregon gets an unsportsmanlike penalty to get a 1st and 25. Justin Herbert is able to convert it back to a 1st down. So then you got 1st and 10. Here, pass complete to Dylan Mitchell. Stanford calls timeout. Cool. 2nd and 7 at your own 39. CJ Verdell runs 4 yards to the 43. Timeout Stanford. Stanford's now out of timeouts. Now Justin Herbert bootleg for 7. 1st down at the 50. Stanford is out of timeouts. You have 1 minute and 35 left in the game. Verdell runs for 7. Verdell runs for 3, which, by the way, is another 1st down. Verdell fumbles. Stanford nails a long field goal to send it to overtime. Stanford wins in Eugene. This is not the first time that Mario Cristobal has failed to kneel on the ball, and that is incredible.
And, they say past is prologue, which is why Chip Patterson knew to take Georgia Tech at 10-1 in the money line sprinkles on Thursday.
This is not like an outright fade as much as it would be acknowledging how hilarious college football can be. Because after you lose to Bowling Green, what would be funnier than to turn right around and go beat Miami in their house? Miami, which is coming off the off week, right? You've had all these days to think about how you're undefeated, how you're feeling good. I mean, I saw somebody try to share with me, like, if the BCS computers were here right now, Miami would be like a top 5 team. Oh, man, if they're starting to get a little bit of that, now you're starting to think national championship. And I just think, especially off the Bowling Green loss, that this Georgia Tech team, which lost by 1 score to Louisville, was right there with Ole Miss. they've got mess around and find out capability, at least at plus 890 or plus 900 or whatever ridiculous number.
I can get you 10-1. I know what you're doing. I see your record in sprinkles this year. You're trying to earn it all back with one pick. They've got what energy, Chip? They've got mess around and find out energy?
Go this way and this way. If you mess around this much, you find out. Yeah. 499, 500. Woo! The U. Thank you. All right. Okay. Look. This is not a season for piling on, but I would like to extend a hearty thank you to Mario Cristobal for messing around and finding out. That moneyline sprinkle, it came in handy this time of year. But now we transition to a loss of one of my esteemed colleagues, family. Tom Fornelli had to say goodbye to his precious Frankie, who now resides in heaven. That's second place, my friend. How we feeling?
I'm mad at my dog because if you'll remember the weekend I had to put my dog down. I went 1-11. So if you take that weekend out where I was kind of distracted, I'm winning this competition. So thanks for nothing, Frank. As for last week,
Wow.
I mentioned last week that in week 1, Labor Day weekend, I went 1-11. It was the week I had to sacrifice my dog. And Jordan, if you could put the graphic up, you will see that it was a brilliant decision on my part because since I sacrificed Frankie, I am 59-42 on the season for plus 12.8 units. She's a very good girl. She's doing her job. Thank you, Frankie Beans.
Watching over you from doggy heaven.
Tom's about to get sniped on the show if she's home today.
I don't know if it's like beautiful or not right.
Can you throw that question on the screen again? I didn't catch that.
All right. What? Where was it? There we go.
Trey Scosi. That's an interesting spelling. Look, I really just don't engage in fantasy. Grown-ass man, when I get done my workday, I like to go outside. I don't want to look at screens. I don't play card games, stuff like that. I don't do video games. So I think this idea of Ole Miss covering is kind of a fantasy. I'm going to say lock agreement with Chip.
Yeah.
Importantly here, look, man, I was already betting Georgia here. I think Ole Miss's defense is a scam. They are 4-0 in one-score games. That's not always determinative, but Ole Miss, in my opinion, is much closer to like a 6-3 football team than they are to an 8-1 football team. Their schedule's been really cake, and I'm not real impressed. I think there's some really important injuries to look for here.
Ooh, let's
really
go. Infirmary report.
Yeah.
Writing this down.
Yeah.
If you've been watching Brian Kelly's press conferences, you've been watching the Auburn game and the Army game, the last two they played before the bye week.
Didn't watch the Army game.
Are any of the 4 corner transfers they took going to play? That would be Harris, Alexander, Chestnut, and Johnson. I think there's a lot of signal in your action and inaction in the portal. And if you take 4 corners, that probably means you hate your corner room. And if your corners are Sage Ryan and 4 guys who you did not plan on having to play this year because all the other guys are either hurt, suspended, or kicked off the team, take your pick. I think that's a real problem. They didn't have Mekhi Wingo against Army. He coming back? Because Mason Smith this year has not looked quite like the same Mason Smith that he looked like, pre-injury. If they don't have him, like that's a real difference maker in the middle. And if they don't have those corners, I am very confident that Alabama is going to be able to create wide open guys and free runners here for Milroe to hit. I think who you have on the field has to matter. The other injury I really care about here is right tackle Emory Jones, who, if you watch the end of I think it was the Army game or the Auburn game. I think Army. He was on crutches on the TV copy. Is he back? I don't know. The backup's a true freshman, Lance Hurd, who we liked a ton, but he's still a true freshman going into Tuscaloosa. I think Alabama's defense, with 2 weeks to prepare, is going to have something for Daniels. I think this is the first defense that LSU will have played who's going to put hands on people. And I mean receivers in particular, since FSU. FSU held them to 17. They challenged routes. LSU got some yards, and they won some in the red zone. If you played that again, LSU got 17 for garbage time. They probably should have had like 24 because the red zone goal line 4th down stands are not totally repeatable. But I don't know that LSU's going in there and dropping 45 against a team that can run with them. and can put hands on him. I was looking at my stats bomb earlier today. Brian Thomas has to be huge in this game because Neighbors is not a good contested catch guy. He's really amazing in space, but Thomas has to be the one who, when people put hands on you, can win one-on-ones. And I think that that's got to be huge for them. Yeah, chat's saying Wingo's been announced out. Guys, I think that matters quite a bit.
Although many in Oxford and Baton Rouge surely didn't, I hope that Cover 3 tailgate took Bud's picks all the way to the bank. And joining the Cover 3 tailgate this season were a couple of former SEC standouts, now falling out in the league on Sundays.
I have seen Jalen Hurts on the squat rack. I want to know, who can squat more, you or Jalen Hurts?
Oh, Jalen for sure. I've seen Jalen for sure. It's so funny because when I first got there, I never lived weights like that in high school. Like high school, I'm a kid. It didn't like where I'm from. It ain't really hit like it is now. Like all the Nike combines and the trainers and the elite pass rush trainers and stuff like that. So I was just like this normal talented kid. Like I was just probably came in 260, benching 185, and squatting probably 225 pounds. And Jalen came in, I'm talking about power lifter, quarterback, ripped up, huge. And my first day, it was like bigs and skills. They used to call it bigs and skills. Bigs live for bigs, skills live for skills. And Jalen was over there. I'm like, oh, man, Jalen must be a linebacker since he's living with the bigs. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't know at the time. This was our freshman year. We came in together. This is our freshman year, so he's living with the bigs. And our first day of spring ball, we go out there, and I'm like, and I see him, he's number 2, and I'm like, oh, man, linebackers can get single digits? And I'm like, oh. So we go down, I see him throwing the ball before the practice, so I'm like, oh, like he must be playing around before practice throwing the ball, like just throwing, playing catch. And we got into like a live period, like a real 11-on-11 period. And I seen he was a quarterback, and I was like, bro, there's no way this kid a quarterback. Like he's unbelievable strong. His strength is on a whole nother level. You can see it now. Like he's the only guy in the NFL can complete the quarterback sneak at that high rate like that, just because no quarterback in the NFL got legs like his and strength, this lower body strength like his. So he's extremely strong.
I know you picked Georgia over UCLA. I'm trying to think back. Was Bama hard on you? Because like Kirby was the DC at Bama back then during that recruitment.
Honestly, a funny story. I used to give him and Coach Schumann a lot of crap about it, but they thought I was too small over at Bama. I think Saban, all those guys thought I was too small. So that was definitely the thing. And I gave Kirby and Schumann all them crap when I was at Georgia. I'm like, yeah, I'm too small, though.
So that was like the last class when they were still like, you got to be Dante Hightower size or not taking you? Because like after that, they'll take some small guys now.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy to think now and like looking at the class. But yeah, like I remember that class, that signing class, man, they had linebacker. The guys they was getting, it was like Adonis Thomas, 6'4", 230. One of these guys out of Memphis, like he was 6'4", 240, 6'2", 240. So it was like guys like that, like thumpers, got huge guys. But, you know, the game is evolving and, you know, they eventually learn that.
Yeah, it's funny. You didn't look too small when you were flying sideline to sideline, making 140 tackles for Kirby, did you?
Absolutely.
This is unscientific, but I believe it. Roquan Smith might be the first player in recent history to say too little to his former coaches and be absolutely right. One of the most controversial moments of the season was which team would be left out of the college football playoff. Many, including Danny Cannell, were outraged when 13-0 Florida State was left on the outside looking in. We had to go live before we even knew the results, all 4 of us together watching them. And Bud Elliott, Danny Cannell, our boys in Garnet and Gold, they got to see the Seminoles left out, and they shared all of their opinions. The takes were flying left and right. But it was Tom Fornelli who came through as the voice of reason.
I just want to make a plea to the listeners, to the people watching, college football fans in general, and this is the basis of what I have. It's been part of the foundation of my complaints the entire time. Don't let them devalue conference titles. Don't let them devalue beating your rival. Don't let them devalue the feeling that you have every Saturday during the fall watching your favorite team play, win, lose, whatever. Do not devalue that just because television networks want you to think that the only thing that matters is winning a national title in a college football playoff system that has no real kind of guidelines set down to determine the teams, other than we get in a room at the end of the year and we pick the teams we think should be in it. It doesn't matter. The national title is not the most important thing in this sport. It has never been the most important thing in this sport. Your relationship with the sport is more important than anything. Your relationship with your rivals, your relationship with your conference. Keep that at the forefront. Don't worry about this bullshit, because that's all it has ever been, and that was proved finally and emphatically today.
Love that. Good note to go out on. Perfectly said, Tom. And thank you for reminding us what college football is all about. It's about your relationship to Saturdays. It's about your relationship to your friends, your families, your coworkers, the people you're neighbors with, the people you go to church with. It is about those weekends in the fall that we hold so dear. It's not about the national championship. That's what makes this all truly special. And so, with that said, it's time to say goodbye to 2023. There's so many more big things to come in 2024 from the Cover 3 podcast. Y'all have no idea. Big things in store from C3. So Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays from the Cover 3 podcast family to yours. We're going sicko mode in 2024.